Happy Monday, my diehards, my degenerates. How's everybody doing, my gambling fans? We are talking UFC 288. That's right. It is pay-per-view fight week here on the Die Hard MMA podcast. I'm your host, as always, your guy, Clint, holding down the fort here. How is everybody doing? The chat is already kicking off. We got UFC Shell here, the Grateful Dude, my guy Dream, Colby Saul in the chat, Londo JSG, and we got VGO. How is everybody doing? What is up, my friend? Appreciate you. That's a new name, so happy to see you in the chat. Evan already popping in. Hope everybody is doing well this evening. A happy Monday to you all. Just want to celebrate the fact that we've had yet another winning week this year. 2023 Revenge Tour is off and running, going strong. I am rocking the blue Die Hard stimmy check right here because we're coming off a winning week. It was not as glorious as I would have liked it to have been. We hit the big 5-unit Song Yadong best bet, but I kind of squandered some of the other stuff away a little earlier in the evening. I want to run back through last week's card just ever so quickly, ever so briefly, because I did make a few mistakes and what should have been a glorious, one-shot kill sniper type of situation with my big 5-unit bet. I ended up, as always, having a few, more bets on the card than maybe I should have. It did cost me just a little bit. But you know what? I do love when a good plan comes together, because first fight of the night, we had Haley Cowan and Jamie Lynn Horth, and y'all know I wanted to fade the absolute crap out of Haley Cowan. I hit a plus 300 live bet on Jamie Lynn Horth about 2 minutes into the third round. I mean, a very obvious 1-1 fight. And Haley Cowan was fading. We know she's got bad cardio. Horth was taking over the fight, and it looked like she was headed towards the 29-28, and they were still hanging a 3-1. Why that would be, I don't know, but that was the game plan from step one. Instead of laying minus 160 on Horth, to find a plus money spot on her live. We got it. Kicked our night off on the right foot. I messed up on the Stephanie Egger fight. Real quick though, Journey Newsom, Marcus McGee, I was staring at McGee all week. I didn't know enough about the guy to feel really good about a bet on him, but I'd been staring at him all week. Totally whiffed, didn't bet it, feels bad, absolutely should have pulled the trigger on McGee. He looked fantastic. He'll be a great addition to the UFC roster. But I played Stephanie Egger inside the distance. Now, the reason that's a mistake, I had been looking to bet Stephanie basically all week, whether it was a parlay, whether it was an under, whether it was inside the distance. I had been trying to find a way to get on Stephanie all week and just hadn't decided how I wanted to do it just yet. The under 2.5 for that fight, or the fight doesn't go the distance, was somewhere around plus 100 to plus 125, depending on where you found it. And I played Egger inside the distance at plus 125. So if you can't figure out why that's a bad bet, let me go ahead and tell you. For all the people who complain that, I justify everything and I never make a bad bet. No, folks, I'm very realistic. When I look back, I can identify the thought process and whether or not I felt I made a mistake. It's part of improving. You've got to be able to admit when you're wrong. I fucked up. Why did I pay plus 125 on inside the distance on Egger when you could get under 2.5 at plus 115 on both women? I didn't think the fight was going to go the distance. It wasn't a big enough price difference for me to discount Irina Alekseeva. I did really think Egger was going to be the one winning the fight, but I should have just played an under. It makes sense. The number would have made more sense. It was a big-time oversight and slip-up on my part. Apparently Russian Ronda is semi-legit. I mean, Colby asking if she's legit. I don't know that she's like legit, but I do think that she is big, she is strong, she's tough, and she's mean. And that's the kind of thing in women's MMA that'll carry you. That'll take you places. She definitely is rough around the edges. So if she makes some improvements, she could have some longevity here in the UFC. But at this point, if they keep feeding her these women that she can just kind of like physically brutalize, yeah, she'll do okay. Let's see if she makes weight next time though, because she could end up, not making weight 2 or 3 times in a row, getting cut or being forced to move up, and then she'll get her ass beat at the next level because she'll be the smaller girl and won't be able to bully people around. We'll find out. But here's the big mistake: Cody Durden, Charles Johnson. So I have been screaming Charles Johnson's names from the mountains since he came over to the UFC. And I was convinced he was winning this fight against Cody Durden. Now, what ends up happening here is I have both overestimated Charles Johnson and underestimated Cody Durden. When you look at the fight as a whole, it went almost exactly the way I predicted it. Cody Durden starts out hot, has success with the grappling. Charles Johnson takes over. And then in the third round, Cody Durden death gasses and Charles Johnson ends up pulling out the win. Now, it didn't quite go that way. Charles Johnson started to have success in about the final minute of round 2. I thought it was going to take place at about the 2-minute mark of round 2. So Durden's cardio and relentless grappling was more effective than I expected. He did a good job with like the Aljo style backpacking as opposed to just the pure, all out force style wrestling. And that gave Charles Johnson some problems. That's something I wasn't expecting. And then in round 3, Charles Johnson was tired enough. He didn't have the gas tank to push the pace he needed to finish Cody Durden. Cody was hanging on for dear life there in that third round. Even talked about like his arm going numb afterwards. He gave it his all. And I got to tip my cap to Cody for that. He absolutely dug deep and did what he had to do to get the win. It wasn't pretty, but he got it done. And I expected Charles to have that much better of a gas tank to be able to overcome that and get the win. So I got to reassess here just a little bit. Like Cody Durden is, a little better than I gave him credit for. And Charles Johnson is not as good as I was giving him credit for. So big slip on my part, put too much money on Charles Johnson in a spot where, sometimes you got to believe, right? You got to believe. I believed and I was wrong. Shit happens. I was absolutely wrong on that. I'm going to get caught up on some of these comments here real quick. Londo saying that Song was the biggest bet, saved the night. Love to hear that. Mike echoing that sentiment. My guy Air Dog in the chat. What's up, Air Dog? Pepe in the chat. Yeah, Pepe. Durden was roasting me a little bit on the timeline. It was funny, though. I would think that it's probably a misunderstanding. So you guys know Twitter's a cesspool, right? Like there was a bunch of gamblers who are always bitching at these fighters and asking for refunds and blaming them for losing their money. I'm assuming he thought I was one of those guys. And I replied to him. He never replied back. So I think he kind of got the message and just let it be because he called me a hater. And I was like, bro, I'm not a hater. I'm just a guy who bet the other side and was wrong. Like, props to you. Congratulations on winning your fight. Like, you guys know me. I'm doing a podcast. So a lot of this is for the sake of entertainment, the sake of content. I will absolutely roast fighters from time to time because, hey, that's part of the gig. But I do it respectfully as I can. I respect every single fighter that steps foot in that cage. Obviously, they would all beat my ass. So, like, fighters are used to people absolutely like coming after them and picking and poking at them and stuff like that. So I think he understood after my response. I think he thought I was more of a hater, than I actually am at the end of the day. But I can understand everybody getting a good laugh out of it because anytime these fighters find you on socials and they come after you, man, I know it's a good time for everybody sitting on the sidelines. That's the gift and the curse of social media these days is that they can find us when we make predictions on us now. The rest of the card kind of went, almost as expected. Like Martin Budai doesn't look fantastic, but manages to pull off the win there. Somehow scored 80 points on DraftKings in what is the clinchiest, cage fightiest fight I think I've ever seen. Josh Quinlan, I was a little bit surprised he wasn't able to have more grappling success against Trey Waters. I did end up throwing on the sub prop plus 700 because I thought he'd be able to take Trey down. I really did. I thought he'd be able to get Trey down, but Trey was able to dig deep, do what he needed to do, get it done. Marcos Rogerio de Lima. Okay, this is like the exact reverse of the Cowan spot. Same game plan. Watch Waldo Cortez Acosta lose round one, jump on him after round one, and expect him to take over the fight. Got a plus 300 on it. Same spot, same idea. Just didn't go as well. Marcos was able to do what he needed to do to finish and get round two in his name. And Waldo didn't have enough gas in the tank to get him out of there in that third. So you love it when a good plan comes together. They don't always come together. Fernando Padilla, though, I told you guys, sharp is better over at Superbook Sports. Whenever he takes a position, you guys should pay attention. And he was on Fernando Padilla last week. I shared that on the Friday show. I ended up getting a 1-unit shot on Fernando. You could argue it was a little bit of an early stoppage against Julian Erosa. Erosa bettors kind of have my sympathy in that spot, but frankly, I think they saved the guy some brain cells. Like, he was not looking good. He was not defending anything, and Padilla's hands looked so crisp. I think he really saved a couple years off of Erosa's life stopping it when he did. Rodolfo Vieira, you got to props to the man. Like, I thought Cody Brundage had him dead. I really thought Brundage had him out of there. Came back, got the round 2 sub. And then Caio, it was always round 2 sub, right? Like, he took the beating from Michal. We know Michal's a fast starter. Caio was able to weather the storm and get the tap in round 2. Beautiful. You love to see it. And then just... I'll pound the chest, song ya dong, baby. Domination from bell to bell. My inspiration, the guy who taught me really how to gamble the way I do these days. Shout out my guy Jimmy the Bag right here at Pub Sports Radio. I jumped on his daily show early in the week last week, and I said that as of so far in 2023, the bet of the year was going to be Song Yadong at plus money, 5-unit bomb for me, and I shared that publicly. He came through and did exactly what we needed him to. There was no split decision. It wasn't close. And then he finishes the man in the 5th round. You love to see when a bet comes together that way. I'm feeling good. Like I said, made a couple mistakes last week. Fucked it up just a little bit. But you know what? Plus 0.9 units, just less than a unit profit. I'll take it. A win's a win, baby. A win is a win. But I have a fun special announcement. Let me shout these guys out here real quick. Danny Lopez, my guy, what's up? Real Deal Prime coming in with the usual wrestling rules. Uncle Weezy checking in and joining us. My guy Dirty Reg, as always. Josh Locks, Mike Harvey, Tone Miggs in the house. What's up, everybody? Creep. What's up, my friend? How you doing? Justin in the house. Hope everybody is doing well. Fun announcement for you guys. I've told you time and time again that you must always trust your balls when it comes to betting on MMA. And it's been way too long since you guys have had a good merch dump from your boy. So we got new shirts, new shop. We're stepping up in the world, ladies and gentlemen. You can find on Die Hard MMA Podcast merch, myspreadshop.com. I have a new Trust Your Balls t-shirt for the people. I felt like it was time for us to upgrade and get some new stuff going. As you can see, they've got them in a bunch of different sizes, hoodies, t-shirts. We got hats now. We got the new logo up here for you guys. And if you want a mug for whatever reason, I figured I might as well add it in there. But I did open up my own shop. If you guys want the OG stuff, like the Die Hard stimulus check, the old logo, the Fireball and Popcorn, those will still be available to you guys on Pub Sports Radio. But I did go ahead and open up my own side merch shop because I needed some new shit. I needed some new t-shirts. We needed hats. It was time, baby. It was time. Speaking of it being time, though, I have a very special guest for you guys this week. I've wasted enough of your time recapping my bets from last week. The co-host of MMA Breakdowns and Bets, my personal favorite fighter out of the state of Arizona, Fight Ready trainee, consigliere, co-captain. I'm not sure what I should title him when it comes to his position over at Fight Ready, but the $1 Million Man himself, Brandon Olivas, joins us to break down UFC Vegas. Not UFC Vegas, UFC 288. What am I talking about? Brandon, what's up, my guy? How you doing?
Hello. Double duty today.
Double duty?
I just got the iPod, and now we're here.
Oh, you guys already recorded for the day.
Already recorded. We're actually on it this time. No deleted episodes.
Hell yeah, man. Good shit. I was laughing the last couple times that you guys had some technical issues with a
No,
couple
no,
of
no.
episodes getting
Yeah, not a couple, not a couple. I think we're almost at double digits now. So
oh my
that's like a
gosh.
24 hours of my life I'm never gonna get back. So if I die young, that's why.
Dude, people in the content biz, they don't understand. Like you put so much time and research and effort, and then when that gets just like erased from existence, it's soul crushing.
Oh yeah. And then what we produce is not nearly as good. We gave it everything that we had and we have nothing left.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's hard to like get the emotion back. You know what I mean? Especially if you've got like a real hot take or you cut like a, a good pro wrestling style promo on a fight. You just can't recreate it. It's not something you can just flick right back on again.
Yeah, yeah. And Tino and I are so busy. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, we're cashed out, man. We're done. You get what's left of us.
I hear you. No, it makes perfect sense, man. Well, thank you so much for doing the double duty today and taking the time out of your busy schedule to join me on the podcast. I'm sorry, everybody, for who's seeing us like bounce around the screen. I don't know what the hell's happening. Usually I like full screen it. So it's like zoomed in closer on us, and it's not giving me that option today. I don't know why.
It's more fun this way. Keeps people on their toes.
I guess so. It's bugging me. I don't know why. I hate when my technology doesn't, work with me and give me the options I'm used to. But fuck it. I guess we'll just do it live. We're just gonna stick with it because that's what we got, folks. You want to make sure you check out Brandon Olivas online. One of the really hilarious follow on Twitter. Meme Lord, he's good at stuff. And then of course follow the MMA breakdowns and bets with Coach Santino from my favorite gym in the entire world over on Instagram. They post a whole lot of stuff. You love to see it. Brandon, are you ready to talk UFC 288 with me, sir?
Yeah, man. Let's get it. Let's get it. I'm excited about this one.
Hell yeah, man. Me too. It's a good night. Let's get after it. First fight of the night. We've got Daniel Santos taking on Johnny Munoz. We've got Daniel Santos, a minus 155 favorite. Johnny Munoz, plus 135, the dog. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up Superbook Sports right now so I can tell you guys, because a lot of these lines have probably moved since I made these tiles here for you last night. Yes, Johnny Munoz is now plus 145. Daniel Santos minus 165. So some steam here on the favorite. Man, I love Johnny Munoz, but he's doing the alternating wins and losses thing. I was extremely, extremely confident in him when he was going into that fight. Not his last one. He won his last fight, but when he got absolutely starched, murdered by Tony Gravely in the first round, I thought that was going to be his coming out party. But he looked real good against Ludwig Shalinian in his last fight. Good footwork. Very elusive on the feet when he wants to be. Good head movement. He uses his range well. He's got that long jab. Solid BJJ. 7 wins by sub. He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage here in this spot. But Daniel Santos, this guy's a marauder. Like, he dropped his UFC debut to Julio Arce, which no shame in that. Arce's a damn good fighter. And then he nuked Castaneda in his second fight. That forward pressure just eventually got to my guy, Sexy Mexi. He wasn't able to handle it after a minute. And he showed off maybe the most insane chin I've ever seen in my life. Like the flush head kick that he took in round 1 and then got wobbled a second time in like the final minute of round 1 against Sexy Mexi. Punched his way back into the fight, ends up finishing the guy just a little bit later. Daniel Santos is one of those guys where that freak durability is going to carry him through fights maybe he should lose until it doesn't. Like, you don't want to rely on your chin that way, but he's gonna. And I've got a little bit of concerns about Johnny Munoz Jr.'s chin as it is. So I don't really like the price tag. Minus 165 seems maybe a little bit rich for the guy who's probably the less technical fighter, but I kind of feel like I'm siding with violence and Daniel Santos early in this fight, man. What do you think, Brandon?
Wait, who did you say is the less technical fighter?
So I think Daniel Santos is slightly the less technical fighter. Johnny Munoz probably has a technical striking advantage of him on the feet.
Oh, Clint, sorry to tell you this. I hate to lead off this way. You couldn't be more wrong about
Bro,
that
you
one.
know better than me. Do it.
Yeah, you couldn't be more wrong about this one. So Johnny Munoz, he's a good jiu-jitsu guy, man. He's been competing around the jiu-jitsu circuit in California for a long time, fought King of the Cage. He's a jiu-jitsu guy through and through. But one thing that we even talked about on the podcast today, he's still becoming comfortable with his striking. And he's come a long way, and he looked really good, especially against Ludovic. Ludovic was a pretty good boxer. I was actually First of all, is my mic good? We sounding good?
You sound great.
I can't bring
No
my
issues here.
my bad technical parts and put it on your show. We got to have this one right. And Ludovic's a good boxer, man. I think a lot of people are really hard on him, but I think he's better than people give him credit for. Johnny looked great in that fight, man. The way he was countering punches, his return fires, 1-2s, but you can see he's still uncomfortable as a striker. So as far as technically, I disagree with that. I mean, you look at the basics. His chin is always up in the air. He's lunging forward, lunging back. He's constantly on the back foot, which is good when you have someone who's plodding forward and doesn't do much else. Also consider this too, as Ludovic didn't throw any kicks, none. Tony Gravely starched him. I knew that was going to happen because, I'm a big fan of Gravely. Man, I think Santos is as close to a sure thing on this card as you're going to get. John Castaneda, man, that guy's really, really good. He's one of those guys that not necessarily the most talented, but he's got great fight IQ, great cardio. He can wrestle, amazing striking. And what I mean by that is his feints, his head movement, switching stances. And you saw Santos break him down. Now, the one thing that he isn't good at is defending head kicks. Not so good. But now we have Johnny Munoz, who's going to be an orthodox fighter here. The one thing that I like, typically with shoot a box, you plod forward. That's all they do. Just plod, and just try to be the tougher person. I really like how Santos cuts off the cage. He's the one shoot a box guy that I see actually cutting off people on the cage. His wrestling actually looked really good in the last fight too. I was pretty impressed, and his jiu-jitsu I think is going to be right on par with Johnny Munoz. So honestly, I think, barring that Munoz pulls out some insane submission, which I really can't see happening. I think Santos is as clear as it gets here.
Okay. See, and this is where I love having somebody like you on the show, because I'm a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, but I was an absolute failure in boxing and Muay Thai. I got dropped by a spinning back kick to the liver in class one time, and was like, yeah, you know what? Striking is not for me. So like everything that I have is the untrained eye just watching MMA for years. So correct me anytime I'm wrong like that. I appreciate it. I was the way this fight like plays out in my mind is very similar to the last fight that Munoz had. I'm mixing up Munoz and Sexy Mexi for some reason now in my brain. I felt like he's probably going to win round one, keep the distance, run away, and it's going to take Daniel Santos breaking him down over 15 minutes to come in and score the win here. He's either going to break him down and finish him late, or maybe win a 29-28 if Munoz is able to survive. I do think Munoz can potentially catch Santos in something, but I don't want to like bank on that. So like I said, I'm picking Santos here, but I didn't think it was going to be kind of a runaway win for him. With what you're telling me though, it sounds like it might be Santos almost bell to bell.
Yeah, I'm going to have to load the boat on this one. I don't even think he loses the first round. The reason that I know Johnny's uncomfortable as a striker is because I'm a jiu-jitsu guy, right? I've been doing jiu-jitsu almost 12 years, and my body is the body of a grappler. And the way that I move is like a grappler. And now me trying to strike, I've gotten better, and I've been doing it for 6-7 years now. And even still, I'm uncomfortable sometimes, right? I try to be tough, and I can throw punches now, but I'm still learning how to strike. And Johnny Munoz is much in the same boat. He comes from the same background as me. I think he's still getting comfortable. Watch his last fight. Watch the second round. 2 minutes of striking. He's kind of pedaling on the back foot, does 2 minutes of striking. And then you can see that the switch flips, and he's like, all right, I've done too much of this, time to grapple. And he got a little uncomfortable. So that's how I can kind of tell.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, folks, you're getting absolute gems here from a guy who's done the damn thing himself. We're aligning on the pick. I was a little wishy-washy. Brandon is far more secure, and I may have just gotten talked into a bet for Saturday. So
Let's
see what
go.
happens.
Load it up. 7 units, baby.
Burn the boats. All right. Next up, we have got Ugly Man, Joseph Holmes. They still got to fix that damn name, man. Taking on Claudio Ribeiro. We've got Holmes, the plus 160 underdog, and Claudio is a minus 180 favorite in this spot. Just minus 185 now on Ribeiro. It looks like the line has moved ever so slightly. I mean, this is kind of I almost want to say grappler versus striker type of matchup, just because of the way that seems to be where Holmes has the most upside is his jiu-jitsu. But like the song you don't, not the song. Geez, I'm mixing my names up so bad right now. The Park fight, the Jung Park fight. He got just mauled, man. He's this tall, lanky build, and he seems to do pretty well with the striking when he can keep it at range and distance. But he doesn't have enough pop on his punches and kicks. He doesn't have the physical strength to like keep people at bay, and he just got flattened out by Park in that spot. I worry that he's not physically strong enough to handle some of these more marauding style guys. Lucky news for him, Ribeiro is not much of a grappler. This guy is a hard time kickboxer, high caliber striker, heavy leg kicks. He's built like a tank. 7 first-round KOs. I think this is going to be a violent fight, man. Like, I like some of the stuff that Joseph Holmes does when it comes to like his transitions, being able to sweep or find his opponent's backs on the ground. I just don't know if he's going to be able to get Claudio down and then put him through that type of a ringer. If this is a fight that takes place on the feet, which primarily I think it probably does, I think Claudio is going to destroy those skinny, long little legs of his and find his way to a knockout. I hate to say it, but I'm leaning with the favorite here again early in the night. No bet at this point, but I want to look at the totals. I kind of think this one's violent no matter which way it ends. What do you think?
Yeah, this is one I feel like I'm going to feel like an idiot no matter how this goes. I'm looking at Joseph Holmes, and I think he's more technical than Claudio, like from a pure Muay Thai standpoint. His wrestling, I think, is awful. Go back and watch the Dwayne Diggs fight. That was a teed up matchup for him. And man, the guy can't wrestle. He's getting reversed by a guy who's wearing basketball shorts. It's kind of embarrassing. And to be honest with you, I think he's got blue belt level jiu-jitsu. And what I mean by that, we talk about purple belt level jiu-jitsu, right? Where purple belts are less control, and it's just, I'm throwing up every submission I can. If I can think of one, I'm going to do it. Well, that feels like how Joseph Holmes is a little bit. He doesn't know how to secure things and tighten it up. I'm with you. I don't think he's going to be able to get Ribeiro down. And the part that I worry about on the feet is just the lack of physicality. You know, is Joseph going to want to engage? I think he's, cleaner and more technical. But man, when you have a guy that throws from crazy, weird angles, it's hard to know to want to engage that. And I think he could be the one getting cage pushed here. I think that physicality is going to, be a big part. Now, I do want to disagree with you one more time. Sorry. And that'll be the last time the whole show. I don't think Ribeiro's a crazy good kickboxer. I don't think he's high caliber. I think he sucks. I think his MMA skills are almost none at all. And that being said, I'm still picking Ribeiro to win this. I think that physicality and those leg kicks and honestly, just the weird angles and the power is going to be the thing that serves him in this fight. Okay.
All right. Well, a little bit of disagreement on the breakdown, but we're lining up on the same side again. And honestly, man, I'll take it as long as
perfect.
As long as the final result is correct, I'll be wrong all day.
I like how my breakdowns. This guy sucks, and I think he's going to win.
It's so true, man. There's so many spots like that where his styles make fights, right? Like that's the whole point.
Especially
styles
on this card.
Fights. Yeah. This is big for this card. Folks, we got 110 live viewers at the moment. Do us a favor, smash the like button. Let people know you're enjoying the content. Subscribe here at Pub Sports Radio if you have not already. Make sure you show my guy Brandon, leave us some love. And remember, these lines are powered here by Superbook Sports. The next fight on the docket is Mr. Zhalgas Zhumagulov himself returning to take on Rafael Estevam. And Zhalgas really could use a win, man. He could really use a win. I mean, he's paying for 2 wives. I can only imagine the price tag on what that is like. I've got one. She's expensive enough. Amazon is coming back and forth from my house all day, every day. Imagine having 2 women doing that thing and then losing by split decision twice and not being able to pay for all the different packages arriving on your front door. That poor man. 2 losses in a row here by split. And then you could argue, going all the way back to the Julian Paiva fight, that he probably won that one and got absolutely robbed. Like, this guy could be 3-2 in the UFC. He is far better than his record suggests. He's really well-rounded. He keeps a good pace. He's durable. He wrestles well. He's a tank. He just refuses to kind of go away over the course of a fight. He does have 66% takedown defense, but even when he gets taken down, man, I saw him back on the regional scene before he got into the UFC, and he just knows how to get up. Like, he can counter wrestle. He can grapple. He can get up to his feet. I like a lot of Zhalgas Zhumagulov. His opponent, though, Rafael, is 11-0. This is coming in from the Dana White's Contender Series. You guys know I love my Dana White's Contender Series fade when an overhyped kid comes off the Contender Series and is a favorite over a battle-tested UFC veteran. That's a spot I usually like to jump. But this guy was in a really intense fight on Dana White's Contender Series. He showed some good scrambling ability. He showed off some good submission defense. He seems like he's physically strong. He's got some smashing ground and pound, man. I really liked what I saw when he gets in dominant position on top of people. You do not want this man in that top position. And he's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage. Just due to it being my angle, man, I'm very tempted to roll the dice here on Zhalgas Zhumagulov to save his job with the UFC and come out here and get a win, show this kid the ropes in the UFC. But honestly, with that 66% takedown defense, if he slips up and lets Rafael Estevam get on top of him, that could be a bad spot for him to be. I don't know that he's going to get controlled long enough for Estevam to be able to get off the kind of ground and pound that he needs to. So very tempted here with the early underdog, Zhalgas at plus 145.
I'm actually right here with you. And I'm pretty sure on our show earlier that Santino said that this is the biggest lock on the card.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty interesting for me, but I'm having a hard time disagreeing with him. Estevam is good. I like him. I really do think he's very talented. He's very good. A lot of front kicks. But the problem is every time, he gets into the thick of things, he wrestles, right? He always going to shoot. Now you're going to go against somebody who's been wrestling their entire life, out wrestled, Ali Bogatinov. He's out wrestled almost everybody. He presses forward, heavy pressure, big bombs. I mean, the kid is fast. The kid is high volume. He runs a pace. I can't see Estevam keeping this up for 3 rounds. I can't really see him out wrestling Zhalgas. Mm-hmm. Even in the striking, I don't think he throws enough dangerous stuff to clip Zhalgas. I don't really see how he gets him outside of maybe a submission off his back. And even then, how hard is that to hit in MMA these days? I think this is going to be Zhalgas' second win in the UFC, and I think it's going to be pretty convincing.
All right. Hey, man, that's all I needed to hear. I'm right there with you. I feel like this is a decent spot for him.
Hey, Clint, did we just get a donation?
We did. I was just going to highlight Big Bird UFC with the dono, saying courtesy of Mitch Seibold, Big B with the hogs. Thank you very much, Big Bird. I appreciate it. Brandon, I feel like you know something about this.
No, this kid, this kid harasses me on Twitter every day. I really try to avoid him at all costs, and he follows me on every stream that I've ever gone on. So, he's throwing out his money because he's rich now. It is what it is. Let's ignore him for the rest of the pod.
Oh, shout out my guy Will Martin in the house. We got an MMA breakdown legend tuning into the show. Thank you for hanging out, my friend. Definitely appreciate it. And Big Bird, thank you so much for helping support the show. We really appreciate that as well. The one thing I do want to poke real quick, though, is I want to take a look at the line movement here on Master Z, because he did open up as the plus 148 underdog and bet down all the way to like plus 125-ish. But it's been steam headed the other direction. So I'm in no rush. Like, there's a couple other spots. Like the Daniel Santos money is coming in. I think I want to get on that. Master Z, Zhalgas, is getting some juicier money here. The plus money, I think, might go up just a tidbit. So I'm going to be patient. For the moment, I'm going to be patient on Zhalgas Zhumagulov. But don't be shocked if you see me tweet that I'm betting him a little bit later on in the week, especially if we can get up to, I don't know, plus 160 or something like that. I'm not sure it goes that high, but we'll find out. Next fight on the docket, folks, is Ikram Aliskerov taking on Phil Hawes. And if you have watched this show more than once, you know that I might be the biggest Phil Hawes hater on the planet. I just, you know what, man? I've had a problem with him ever since he got to the UFC. I feel like he's just been dramatically overrated. Like the whole thing when he came in, training with John Jones, got that wrestling background, big explosive power, and then he's breakable. Like, I feel like he's breakable. He's older. He's 34 years old. He's got that big old punching power that he's super reliant on. But, man, all 4 of his wins by finish. Like, when this guy loses, he does it spectacularly. And I really thought Nasruddin Imavov was going to absolutely wreck this man. And to my surprise, he managed to one-punch Malkoun, beat Imavov in a decision, and then also beat Kyle Dawkins in a 15-minute decision. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Made bank on Chris Curtis getting him out of there in the first round, thankfully. But thought so lowly of him that I actually bet Jourdain win against him just a couple fights ago. So I need to recalibrate a little bit. This is one of those moments where I can admit when I'm wrong and give Mr. Hawes just, a little bit more credit than that. Dolidze obviously absolutely destroyed him, but that's Dolidze. That guy causes, a freak car crash basically every single time he's in the octagon. Going skill for skill here, punch for punch. His opponent, I don't know what to make of 13-1, Ikram Aliskerov, but it is another Dana White's Contender Series fade type of situation where he's making his debut here. He punches his way into range very well. He's kind of got that classic Dagestani ride type of wrestling, super aggressive on the feet. He likes to attack submissions. And the big thing, Brandon, that I almost hate just a little bit here is that he's so aggressive with his submission offense. He will give up good positions and dive for like arms and things like that at sometimes. We've seen him be so confident in himself that he'll give up a good solid position to go for something that he doesn't quite have. And his one and only loss was by knockout. I feel like this line is too wide here. I don't know if I've got it in me to completely pull 360 and actually bet on Mr. Hawes here as a plus 195 underdog. But I'm close, man. I feel like he's almost being disrespected in this spot. No bet for me at this point. I'm going to pick Ikram to win. As far as a bet, though, I'm staying away for now. What do you think, Brandon?
I think you should bet on Phil Hawes. One thing that Santino told me a long time ago, and I didn't realize this, and I overrated it too much. He said D1 wrestling, or I'm sorry, college wrestling at a high level beats Dagestani wrestling because it's so different. And that was evidence. He told me that right before Rafael Stotts fought Magomedov, or whatever the tall Russian is, in Bellator. And we saw Rafael put on a clinic, right? It wasn't even close. Phil Hawes wrestled at Wartburg, Iowa State, like a bunch of these different places. He's very good. He's very, very good. When you put up that graphic, I guess I didn't realize they're the same height. Man, I think Phil is so much more dynamic. And honestly, I think you're being really hard on Phil. Look at his improvement over the last, look at his improvement over the last few years when he's been at Killcliff, right? The way that he uses feints, the way that he uses head movement, he just seems like he just got it down. I think he's been doing a lot of work with Sean Soriano down there, and he is a clean striker, I think. Somebody in the chat said this, that he's a very talented fighter and his chin is what lets him down. And I totally agree with that. The guy can wrestle. The guy's got better cardio than he's supposed to have for how he's built. I don't think he's relying on big punches. I really don't. Watch how he jabs up all these guys, right? He's pop, pop, pop. I mean, he's a clean fighter. Ikram, oh geez, I've taped Ikram a lot because I bet on him in Eagle FC when he fought Nishon Burrell, and even that was a close fight. Now, watching that fight, Santino brought this up. Nishon Burrell was hitting switches on him when he was trying to wrestle. That's not a high caliber wrestler like Phil Hawes is. Phil Hawes is a real deal wrestler. Like, he's a real guy. Man, if Phil's chin holds up, I think we have a tough fight here. I think Phil is going to be one of the better dogs on the card. Barring that his knee's okay, everything else is okay. I don't think that Ikram's going to out wrestle him. If he does, it's going to be a high body lock. And then exactly like you said, he's going to go for submissions. And Phil is so explosive. A lot of times when you're sweaty and gross in MMA, you can power out of that. That's the guy to do it. I think his striking is cleaner. I think he hits harder. Honestly, I weirdly think he has better cardio than Ikram. Man, sign me up for dog money on Phil Hawes.
Okay. All right. Another very convincing argument, Brandon. Now, I do have a question, though, because my guy MMA Locker Room in the chat is saying Hawes is at a new camp. Has he moved out of there? Did he switch?
Yeah, someone said he's in Thailand training with all the Russians. Does that change your opinion on not betting on him?
Strike. Interesting. I do think it changes my opinion ever so slightly because, like I said, admittedly, I have undercut Phil Hawes in his career here at the UFC. And especially since he made the camp switch, because I think he was over at Jackson's, right? Jackson Wink. And that's when I was like, he's overrated. He's not doing shit right. He's a bum. I'm going to beat this guy. I'm going to make money fading him. Since he left that camp, obviously he's been doing better and showing those improvements. And if he's now training with some Dagestanis, when he's going to be dealing with a Dagestani wrestler and getting that striking improvement, like you mentioned, that could definitely sway me a little bit more towards Phil Hawes.
I think his striking was good to begin with, man. Go back and watch his last few fights. Just watch the little subtleties of what he does. He's just a guy that just kind of knows what he's doing, man.
Yep. I would tend to agree with you there, man. I really would. And like I said, it's the Dana White's Contender Series fade spot where this guy is coming in here way overhyped. We are seeing a Phil Hawes who is 1-2 in his last 3, but let's be real. Like my boy Chris Curtis, he rib roasts people. That's what happened to him. You can't really fault him for that one. And then the weird knee situation with Roman Dolidze, I feel like we might be getting a buy low spot here on Phil Hawes. I may talk my way over to that side by fight time. Definitely want to do a little bit more research.
This is terrifying. I feel like I'm going to try to talk you into every single dog on the card. And then if they lose, I'm going to get grilled for it.
No, man. I see. Here's the thing, though, Brandon. I'm a grown ass adult when I bet. I know when I click the submit button that it's on me for putting my money in there. And I'll be honest with you, I already was leaning towards Zhalgas Zhumagulov, and I already feel like this line is wide. So at 2-1, when you got a guy with the caliber of striking and wrestling that Phil Hawes has, it's not that big of a push to get me to pull the trigger on a 2-1 dog like that. So
never bet a white. Never bet a white.
Never bet a white is correct. I don't know if I should be offended by that, but it's worked out for you pretty well so far. So I guess you can't argue it. I don't know though. I think I might want to bet a white in this next fight, Brandon. We've got Parker Porter taking on Braxton Smith. Parker, your minus 175 favorite. Braxton Smith is plus 155. And I'm sorry, this guy feels like Will Knight 2.0 to me. Like he's gonna get memed very soon in the UFC, Brandon. He is short, he is squat, he's got these crazy long arms for his build, and he's nothing but muscle from like the top abdomen up. He's solid muscle. He's got about 1 minute and 50 seconds of fight time total, because this guy just comes out and wings bombs, and he's got apparently unreal power. He's fought a bunch of trash cans, so I'm not sure if the power is real or if he's just fighting bums at this stage. But Parker Porter, the legend himself, is coming back here. He's 38 years old, so he's getting up there. You kind of hate to see it, coming off back-to-back finished losses. Tafa just banked him. You can't fault him for the Jailton Almeida fight whatsoever, but this is a big guy who's proven he's UFC caliber at the very least. He can take people down. He's deadly if he gets on top of you, because you're not getting 265-pound Parker Porter off of you if he gets on top of you grappling. And then he's got serious output for a heavyweight. He fights long. He's got good leg kicks, and he's got those thighs that are like tree trunks, man. I think Parker Porter can very much drag this guy out of the first round and expose some of the holes that we just haven't seen yet on the regional tape. I can't for the life of me bet him at nearly 2-1 though, because this guy has that insane Mimi type of KO power. So I'm going to pick Parker Porter to go ahead and get the win, maybe even by sub. Nah, I don't think I'm betting this fight though, man. Maybe an under. What about you? What do you like here?
No, I'm going to launch it on this one. I don't think we have a choice other than to launch it on this one. Man, you got a guy that's got less than 2 minutes of cage time with so much time off. Now, I will say I want to defend Ja'Cory Savage honor for a minute. The guy is a good heavyweight for the regional scene. So don't call him a complete trash can. He's LSU athlete. He's beat, state champion wrestlers. He's not the worst ever, but it's heavyweight fighting and got clipped, right? 2 times. Insane. I think Parker is easily the side here. He's the way better mixed martial artist. He's shown that he can go 3 hard rounds at the UFC level. I think I'm gonna launch it here on Parker Porter. But obviously, fight doesn't go, and under is good. But I think Parker is easily the side here.
Gotcha. Okay, man. I mean, we're lining up again. I'm just a little scared of the power, but I get it. I absolutely get it. We might just have to do the damn thing.
One thing that Parker does though well is he covers. He keeps a nice high guard when guys are swinging on him. And when you have one thing that the opponent does, so for example, last week, I was huge on Song. I know you were huge on Song. I was huge on Song. When you have a guy that their entire thing is only to shoot, like they're going to shoot over and over and over again, then you have one thing to defend. So with Parker and Braxton, if Parker has any semblance of fight IQ, he knows Braxton's going to come out hard for at least a minute, minute and a half. Parker waits for the fight to settle down, and now he's good. Now he's game. Now he's rolling punches like he always does. Tafa is a way better striker than Braxton. Tafa's bigger, hits harder, way more technical, way better fighter. I don't think it's even close. Cover. Just cover for a minute. You're good. You're golden. Parker, this is my free advice for you. I know you're watching.
Man, I just hope he goes to the leg kicks. I hope he stays outside, kicks the shit out of that guy's front leg, and just stays out of range. He'll leg kick TKO him in the second if he just eats him up.
I worry about leg kicks here because the leg kicks are going to offer him to be in range to get bombed on by Braxton. And a good example of that is Claudio Ribeiro when he fought Abdul Razak Al-Hassan, right? That's all Claudio was throwing was leg kicks, and then boom, lights out, right? So I think he needs to be careful of that. But if he wrestles, cage pushes, puts a pace on him, that's going to be an easy one.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough, man. I guess Brandon's sending it on basically every fight this week. I love it. It's gonna be
man. We ball.
Gonna be a big night. You'll love to see it. My guy Z-Goler 00 in the house. What's up, man? And JSG saying, "Come on, Rangers," and you know it. I don't have a bet on the Rangers tonight because I got them to win the series, so I'm already invested. I like the Rangers side, but no additional bet on the money line. I'm just on the first period under 1.5 in the hockey game. If anybody cares for a sweat this evening. I'm trying to roll back here. My guy, Nick, appreciate you, dude. Appreciate the nice words. Thank you so much. All right, folks, we are powering straight through this bad boy. Next up, we are talking about Marina Rodriguez and Virna Jandiroba. Woo! I can't wait for this one, Brandon. I do have an investment here. My first bet of the evening. I know we've been talking about a lot of live dogs tonight, and I wish I had looked further ahead. I never do because I've got this damn podcast every Monday. So I pretty much am week to week. I'm not looking 2-3 weeks in advance, but I did jump in here on Virna Jandiroba. Marina Rodriguez is somebody who I've been a big time fan of throughout her UFC career here. She's 16-2-2, and she's gotten to the point where, I kind of just feel like we've seen the completed version of her, right? She's 36 years old. She's a little bit older for the division. We know what she's going to look like in pretty much every fight that she's in at this point. She's rangy. She's long. She's a very patient striker, capable of putting over 100 significant strikes up on her opponents in a 15-minute fight, touches people, and then sits down when she needs to. She's got good, solid power for the women's MMA class here, but takedown defense has just always been the problem. She goes flat on her back. She doesn't have much urgency to get up. She's got a couple draws on her record because she literally has given a fight away and then woke up in the third and gotten 10-8s to go ahead and save her night. And I just think that's a problem against someone like Virna. I mean, Virna, first and foremost, is on the good vitamins. Like, she looks like she's in incredible shape coming into this fight. And she's a really strong grappler. The wrestling is solid. The jiu-jitsu is solid. She's actually got heavy hands to it. Seems like she's capable. She's got that jiu-jitsu player power where she can hurt people on the feet just to get close into range, and doesn't care if she falls to her back and has to sweep or submit. Doesn't care if she knocks you down. She'll get on top. That's fine. No matter what it takes, just get this thing to the ground. And she has such gorgeous heavy shoulder pressure, man. It reminds me of what my coach used to do to me back when I was training, the way she digs her shoulder into the jawline of her opponents. It's not something you see a whole lot in women's MMA, but she will grind people to dust on the mat. And she's really flowy from top position. And that's something I think that Marina Rodriguez is really going to struggle with, is getting Virna off her once this thing gets to the ground. Virna averages 2.31 takedowns per 15 minutes at a 38% accuracy, and she opened up as high as plus 230. I'm crying over here with my plus 110 in pocket. I wish I could have got the plus 170, the plus 180, but it is what it is. I think plus money's good in this spot. I'm on Virna, Brandon. What do you think?
God, okay, this is one I've been back and forth on all day, and just to keep what is it, ingenuity? What is the word I'm looking for? The continuity between there. Yes, between our podcast and your podcast. I'm going to stick with this. And the way that I said it was, man, it seems like Virna is the better grappler. Just times a million. I think she's a lot stronger than Marina. And I think the gap in striking is much smaller than the gap in grappling is. I don't even think it's close. So to me, everything's showing me that Virna is the side. And for some reason, I want to launch it on Marina. I don't know why. I don't understand, because Marina's not as high volume as I had kind of pictured in my head. She doesn't have a ton of power. She doesn't have a lot of urgency to get up. Her takedown defense isn't amazing. And for some reason, I think she's going to put it on her. And I have no rhyme or reason. On our podcast, when Grasso and Shevchenko fought, I was the only one who picked Grasso. And I said, I know Shevchenko's better at everything. It's just a gut feeling that she's going to win. And I'm kind of in the same boat here. I recognize that Virna is better in the parts that I guess are important. I think her wrestling is so-so. It's okay. But her jiu-jitsu and her control is phenomenal. It really is excellent. yeah, she throws meat hooks standing up. She's not completely, off her rocker there. I don't think it's going to be a runaway. But for some reason, I just think Marina, this is a good buy low spot, sprawls and brawls, put some volume on her. And I think Marina gets it done. No rhyme or reason. So don't follow me on this one, but it's just my gut feeling.
Okay. All right. Hey, you got to trust your balls, man. Got to trust your balls. I don't mind it. I got a lot of flack for this. And honestly, Brandon, I think this is like the square versus sharp spot of the night. And now, not to say that the sharps always win or are better or anything like that, but like this number is just absolutely crashing. But everybody and their mother on Twitter is on Marina Rodriguez. So like, the money's going the other way, folks. You know what I mean? Like it's that spot where everybody sees the same stuff and thinks one side is going to win, but the money the books respect is saying the exact opposite.
These sharps don't know shit. They don't know shit.
It's true. It's true. The sharps do not know shit. I will give you that. But you know what, man? I see what I need to see from my girl Virna. I think she's dangerous enough to simply outclass Marina on the ground. I mean, we saw what Carla Esparza was able to do, and I think that Virna's probably physically stronger than the Cookie Monster was at this stage of her career. I think she'll be able to maintain the grappling positions that she needs to. And then on the feet, she's not like out and out the way Carla is, right? Like Carla can't do shit on the feet. I think that Virna will at least be able to fire back when she needs to, or get the respect when she needs to, or punch her way in when she needs to. Whereas Carla is reliant on diving from 10 feet across the cage on the single leg to get it to the ground. And that in itself was enough to go ahead and beat Marina Rodriguez. And I've not seen the improvements from Marina Rodriguez that I'd like to have her fight a grappler like this. So
yeah,
give me the plus money, man. I think the takedowns rule the day here.
All right.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Good luck, everybody. That one's going to be a big civil war on Twitter for that fight. Everyone's going to have an opinion on that one. Next up, we've got my boy Khaos Williams makes his return to the UFC after a year-long layoff. He is welcoming Rolando Bedoya, I believe is how you pronounce that, but I could be very, very wrong in that. Now, you've got Khaos, who's 29 years old, coming into the prime of his fighting life, got shown the octagon by one of the veterans here of the sport. Took some time off. I listened to an interview with him. It's not because of an injury or anything like that. He needed a brain break. He needed a rest, a reset, and then got his affairs in order like outside of fighting, which you love to hear. I hate it when fighters, flop after their careers because they don't set themselves up afterward. So he's done a good job, got investments going, all that kind of stuff. But man, that Roundy Brown fight, that was a great fight, and it was a close fight. It came down to a split. I actually thought Khaos had done enough to maybe go ahead and get the nod. Part of that was because I was in the arena and his family was like literally the row behind me. So like might be a little biased perspective here from me, but it was a good fight. And I think he's getting better. He's got that just devastating death touch type of power. When he gets into range, he can hurt anybody. And I think he's so raw that he absolutely can be tightened up in the striking. And again, I'm going to, tilt my cap to you there to correct me on anything that I'm missing here. He does seem like he's a little bit loose cannony, a little bit wild, but there is a method to the madness a little bit with him. His opponent, Rolando, on the other hand, I'm not sure what to make of this kid. I mean, 14-1, 25 years old. So like definitely somebody the UFC can get behind and have around for a bit. He's another guy that really forces these close range brawls. Like he'll back you up against the cage. And then he almost reminds me of Jessica Andrade. Like he'll do the thing where he drops his hands and then does like 4 or 5 hooks from, with his hands down hip side to get him there. Just messes people up against the fence, pins you against the cage. And then he's another guy that can get overly aggressive. Really great ground and pound, but overextends on some of his strikes, overextends trying to hurt people or grab a sub, and people get up out from under him because of it. I think he might just be a little bit too young here. These guys, I believe, now I've got conflicting information here. From my first scout, it looked like they had matching 77-inch reach, but then I looked at another thing and it said Bedoya's only got a 75-inch reach. So Williams might actually have a 2-inch reach advantage here, which could play at least a little bit. But I think Bedoya might be just a little bit too wild. He gets disrespectful of his opponents, and you can't do that with a guy that's got the power of Khaos. So if he comes in with even just minimal improvements, I think Khaos is probably the more technical striker, and I give him the power edge. I don't know if he's maybe deserving of the minus 300, but I'm picking Khaos to win. He probably knocks this kid out. What are you doing here, Brandon?
Yeah, this fight doesn't make a lot of sense to me. This kid is not very good. And the biggest problem I have with him is he's fat. It doesn't make any sense. Why is he fat? You're fighting in the UFC. He's still fat. He's got little tiny arms and he's got a big fupa, and he's about to fight Khaos Williams, who's just all muscle. This fight doesn't make a lot of sense for me. Watch his reaction when he gets hit, right? He gets hit and he freezes, just freezes, and that's it. And now he's starting to put it back on. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You're not going to want to trade power for power with a guy like Khaos Williams. And you're exactly right. Khaos is not perfect. He could be tweaked very, very technical. Somebody just said he's at ATT. Is that the truth, guys?
Daz is saying he's at ATT. You know, the problem is Khaos is very sneaky. I tried to stalk him to see what he's doing with his training these days, and man, the man is just hustling. He's not posting any pictures of where he's training. He's not posting, he posted some throwback with my guy Jamal Hill, but I couldn't figure out where he's at right now. If he is at ATT, that's gorgeous. Like that's one of the best gyms he could be at.
Yeah, then I don't understand, because this the fat guy can't wrestle. He's not a great striker. His volume is okay, but he's going life or death with mailmen in South America. It doesn't make any sense. I got Khaos here, and Khaos is not even my favorite fighter, but look what he's doing with the power that he has to guys like Semmelsberger, Miguel Baeza. These guys are 10 times better than Rolando is here. And now Rolando's going to make his first UFC fight on a pay-per-view. The nerves that are going to go into that, the adrenaline dump. I mean, I don't know how you don't go Khaos, and Khaos seems like he's dead inside. Like he's got no emotion. Yeah. He stares at you. I like Khaos here pretty easily.
And man, he is stupid durable as well. Like the shots that he's taken from people and just walks forward. Like he just eats whatever you throw at him and keeps on coming. I'm right there with you. Even if this kid does have something to him, I don't know that he's got what it takes to knock out Khaos Williams. He's got 4 knockouts on his record, 3 submissions, mostly a decisionator, 7 wins by decision. So now maybe he's a young kid and he's getting better and he's rounding out his skill set and he's going to get more dangerous as he levels up. But this is a big jump in class. I'm definitely leaning with Khaos here.
You know, I think there's a good way to play this too. I mentioned this earlier. I think a Khaos finish only or a Bedoya decision only, I think would both be good plays. If you think that Bedoya can outvolume him, because he's not going to outpower him. I don't think he's going to finish Khaos. Like you said, the durability, his wrestling is not very good. I think you can play the finish only on Khaos, which is probably what I prefer, the decision only. But honestly, I think that Khaos could win a decision too.
Yeah, he could. I mean, he damn near 1-1 against Randy Brown. So I definitely think that's possible. We will see, man. We'll find out. I like Khaos. I like Khaos a lot. He's a guy that I immediately gravitated to. The power punchers just get me. I don't know what it is. These death touch guys, I got a soft spot for them. I don't know. I can't help myself. All right. Everybody, do us a favor. If you're hanging out, we got 181 live viewers. Smash that like button for us. Check out my guy Brandon and leave us on socials. And let's get right into the next fight. We've got Devin Brown Bear Clark taking on Kennedy Nzechukwu. And you guys know I've got a soft spot for Kennedy. I really like this kid. He's another guy that's got just a freakish frame for the division. He's got 80% takedown defense. He kind of lets you break yourself on him, trying to, get him to the ground, and then turns it up the deeper the fight goes. And there's something about that if he can just take everything that you've got and then turn it on you as the fight gets deep, you love to see it. He's 11-3, training at Fortis MMA, seems to be getting better every time he comes out here. That knee, man, the knee that he just brutalized Ion Cutelaba with when he level changed was gorgeous. And you got to think that's something he's planning on bringing into play here for Devin Clark. Devin Clark is another guy very similar to Phil Hawes, where I've probably been just a little too tough on him. I've literally called him the bar. Like, you belong in the UFC if you can beat Devin Clark. But anybody who's not UFC or who is UFC caliber is going to beat him. Like, I feel like he's maybe the absolute bottom of the barrel for the UFC's 205-pound division. You look at the guys. Now, I was surprised. I was very surprised that he beat Da Un Jung in his last fight. But the guys that he beat were Will Knight, Alonzo Menifield, Daquan Townsend, and Darko Stosic. That it's like, okay, so he's only beating the guys who are getting cut. Then the losses are to Ryan Spann, Anthony Smith, Ion Cutelaba, Azamat Murzakanov. Makes sense. It just makes sense to me that he's kind of that bottom end of the barrel. I like Kennedy a lot in general as a fighter. I find this fight very, very intriguing because the big thing Kennedy seems to be able to do, like I mentioned, is defend early and take over the deeper the fight gets. He did it with Ion. He did it with Carl. It worries me just a little bit, though, because Devin Clark doesn't slow down. He's the guy that cranks it up. He's the guy that has better cardio than his opponents. I'm going to pick Kennedy to win this fight, and it wouldn't shock me whatsoever if he had another stellar performance, if he improved yet again and got better and wins this thing. But minus 185 is a little rich for me, because if Devin just stays on him where some of these guys were not able to keep up that pace, I could see this going to a very close, very greasy decision. And that's how Devin Clark wins fights, man. Like, if you're going to play Devin Clark, just play the decision. Like, he's not going to, the only guy he finished was heavyweight Will Knight after the egregious weight miss that sent that thing, up a weight class. I don't think he's knocking out Kennedy in this spot. So I definitely am going to side with my guy, Kennedy Nzechukwu, but I don't think I'm betting this fight. Brandon, what do you think of this one?
I think I'm going to look at Devin Clark here. Again, just to keep the continuity between the last one and this one. This is one that I've been kind of back and forth with all the time. We think we have this new and improved version of Kennedy, but he beat Karl Roberson and Cutelaba, who Cutelaba, man, he finds a way to lose every single fight. It's crazy. Devin, I think you're giving Devin a hard time. If you look at him skill for skill, the guy's actually really good. I mean, he wrestled at a good level. He can wrestle really well for MMA. He's got clean boxing. He's a powerhouse. He's got good cardio. But again, just like Cutelaba, he's a guy that constantly finds a way to lose fights, whereas Kennedy constantly finds a way to win fights when he's getting his ass beat. Man, it's pretty hard to bank on Kennedy finding that kill shot, especially with how good Devin looked in the last fight. I think, honestly, Devin's going to be able to keep a pace on him, mix in the wrestling. Kennedy constantly, even to this day, still makes a ton of grappling mistakes, little ones. And you can hear Saif Saud freaking out in the corner. Kennedy. I think that Devin's going to be able to put enough of a pace on him to probably break him. It's not a fight I feel comfortable on. I'm sure as hell not going to play chalk on Kennedy in this kind of matchup, especially watching what he just did to Daun Jung, who's a very patient guy. Now, I think it's a very different fight than the Daun Jung fight, but I'm going to go with
Kennedy's
Devin
got better cardio than Daun Jung does.
Really?
I think so. I think so, just based off observation.
I mean, we call that the Homer Simpson. I think a lot of that's just, it looks like he has really good cardio because he does so little. He does almost nothing, and he lets other guys blow their wad all over him. And he's still the last man standing after that. So I like Devin Clark here, but this is not one that I'm going to bet.
Okay. Hey, here we go. We came to the same idea. Neither of us are betting it. We're disagreeing on the side, but that makes so much sense to me, man. I think Daz has got the right idea, though, because if we can get a better line on Kennedy, if he does get mauled early and looks like he's doing Kennedy things, then maybe we bet on him live. Maybe we get plus money on him after the first round and we do take the shot on Kennedy. But that's really the only way that I would approach it. Like I said, I'm going to pick my guy to win. I'm going to stand with my dude. But I'm definitely not getting in front of Devin Clark in this particular spot. He finally got his dad out of his corner his last fight. Maybe that's the difference, Brandon. Maybe finally not having his dad as his head coach was enough to do it.
My dad left my corner as a kid. That's why I'm a fighter.
Bro, it's smart. Like, your dad only knows so much unless they're a professional fighter too, right? You know what I mean? Like, it has to happen.
I was just kikidding. I didn't grow up with my dad. That was supposed to be a joke. Sorry about that.
See, I didn't know that, and now I'm sad.
Just kidding. All right, next one.
All right. And a dude, just real quick here, Dixon saying, just found out that Kennedy's mom passed away. Do with that what you will. And you know what? I'll be honest with you, Dixon. I interpret those situations differently based on the fighters. Obviously, people are going to handle that kind of situation differently. I do remember I bet bigly on what's his name? He fought Makwan Americani and got choked out in the first round. Oh, damn it. That's going to bother me now. I thought that when his father was passing, it was going to be a big boon for him and he was going to have an amazing performance. Mike Grundy. I thought Grundy was going to run through Makwan Americani fighting, with the emotion like that. And it didn't do the same thing for him. And someone like Kennedy, he's had some of those mental errors that like Brandon was talking about. I would wonder that something like his mom passing would be a negative for him. Now, this is me just, spitballing, interpreting. I have no solid information to go off of, but if that is true, that would keep me further away from the Kennedy side as opposed to betting on the Kennedy side because of a tragedy like that. But RIP to Mrs. Nzechukwu, and hopefully my guy Kennedy's okay. Sad day. All right. Let's get happy again. That's too many back-to-back sad things for me. Next up, we got Drew Dober taking on the steamroller Matt Frevola, who's very quickly turned into maybe one of the best Twitter follows in the MMA space. Matt Frevola is real fun online. The Chin himself makes a return. Drew Dober, like, what do you got to say about this guy? 26-11, really only loses to the contenders. Like, this man just goes out there and beats the brakes off of anybody who's not in the contenders circle of this weight class. I mean, even the Bobby Green fight where it looked like he was getting lit up, one shot was all it took, man, to completely shut the lights off somebody who's been very historically durable. The problem with Dober, and for me, this one's very simple here, is that grappling has always appeared to be his kryptonite. Like, he lost the Brad Riddell fight. Brad landed 5 takedowns in that fight. He lost to Islam. He lost to Benny. He lost to OAM before he fled to the PFL to win $1 million. The guy's got 55% takedown defense, and he's got 4 losses by sub. Matt Frevola is like the American Marab. Like, the guy has wrestling background. He's got that chain grappling pace. He's got great cardio. My fear is the chin. I don't trust Matt Frevola's chin. Now, you look back at the record, and it doesn't look so bad. The guy's 10-3-1, right? Like, he's only actually been officially knocked out twice, but he's been wobbled several times. And I talked about Terrence McKinney, how it was simply too early for him. He's a freak athlete that was really kind of carrying him through his career up until this point. He got banked by that guy in 7 seconds. Shit happens. Now, Frevola came out and went to war with Otman Azatar. I thought we were going to see the chin issues come back in that fight, but it didn't last long enough for that to happen. So he's got power on the feet to match Dober if he wants. He's explosive. He's aggressive. I like Matt Frevola a lot, and I think he's live here as a dog, but he's got to wrestle. Like, this is where, if I could be a fly on the wall, if I could hear Matt Serra game planning this one, and they told me that we were going to get wrestling this week out of the steamroller, I'm betting on him all day as a dog. All day. But if he comes out and tries to bang with Drew Dober, which he's done before very recently, trying to prove a point, I think he could get slept, man. It's a tough fight. I lean dog or pass at this point. Haven't made a decision yet. Talk to me, man. What do you like on this one?
Yeah, I think people get too into the idea that Frevola's like leaning into the MMA Twitter thing and he's wanting to put on a show. I think that's his character, to be a showman, but I think he's a way smarter way smarter fighter than people give him credit for. The wrestling angle is exactly where I was going with it too. The line right now is set at 1.5, which I think is insane. I think you got 2 guys that are ultra veterans, and the second that Matt starts putting a wrestling pace, this is going over 1.5 easy. I think the reason that he was striking in the last 2 fights, one, he's facing Genaro Valdez, who's got the worst chin on earth. He's basically the Mexican Jason Witt, right? Matt knows he can put him out, and he sat him down 4 or 5 times in that fight. The last fight, I think he was just feeling it. I think he was going to grapple had it come there, but I think he was just feeling good on the feet, exchanging with Otman. I don't think that's going to be his entire game plan. I mean, he didn't do that against Jalen Turner. He's not trying to prove a point. He's trying to win a fight. I really like the over 1.5. I really think that Frevola decision is actually what I was going to say too, Pepe. I like that spot.
Pepe knows what's up.
Pepe knows what's up. That's my master. I like Frevola decision. I really do think that he can grapple him here. I think he's a good striker, good enough to hang with him. I don't think that chin is as bad as people think. Anyone can get touched at any time, especially when you underestimate somebody. I'm going to rock with Frevola here. I like Frevola decision, and I like the over 1.5.
I'm so happy you mentioned the total, Brandon. I tell my people every week, I do the Thursday total takedown where I go back over the card, overs and unders. And I, most of the time, almost forget to mention totals in fights because I go back and do a full show based on it later on. So I love the over 1.5 here. I'm right there with you. Drew Dober has been a very, very patient striker. He's not necessarily just a round one guy. We've seen him go the distance. He's got 6 decision losses, 7 wins by decision. So it's not like he just one punches people. He's got round 3 KOs on his record when fights do get finished. So I absolutely think This fight is one where we're getting set up for it to go over. People are expecting a round one banger. It's probably going to get at least into round two, maybe even all the way to the distance. Love the decision call there at a nice big juicy number. I may add that to my official card. And my guy, Stat Daddy for MMA, Uncle Wheezy rolling in here. Frevola decision only is a good look. Shout out Pepe for bringing that up. The Frevola decision prop.
Yep, love that.
Gotta love it. Jacqueline, hi. Thank you for joining the show. Definitely appreciate you hanging out with us, talking some MMA. Damn. Jeez, when the daughter gets out of the room, she's no problem slamming the door. Don't worry about the audio, girly. Jeez. All right. Moving right along, everybody. Oh, you know what, Brandon? I do apologize. I got to pay a couple bills real quick. I almost forgot about this. So, what we've got for sponsors, folks, Pub Sports Radio. If you haven't already, check out the free Pub Sports Radio contest. We got belts now. You guys can get rankings and improve your belt. Your boy's a brown belt. I've got 2 wins, so I'm 1 win away from getting my black belt. If you guys want to win $100 weekly, all you got to do is beat the Pub Radio personalities over here. So come sign up, join. It's free, $100 on top. Get after it. It's a good time. Spectation Sports. Use promo code DIEHARD for 20% off, 25% off your monthly membership here. Regional Scene MMA, Aries Fight Series, Lights Out Championship. There's some good shit going on here at Spectation Sports. You guys make sure you check it out. It is pay-per-view fight week, and that means the Fight Exchange. Everybody check out Prediction Strike. If you deposit using promo code FE for Fight Exchange, you guys will get a bonus stunk or a fighter here. Take a look at my roster, some of the fighters I've invested in here over at Prediction Strike. That show is hosted on my personal YouTube channel, so make sure you guys check that out. I will tweet it and post it later, but search Die Hard MMA Podcast on YouTube. Find me over there for the Fight Exchange, where we will go over the entire card again and talk about long-term, short-term opportunities, investing, and then, of course, the Sharp app. They've got a Discord that is absolutely popping off the chain right now. They cover all the sports that I don't have the caliber to handle. They've got the Sharp reports, so you can tail the sharps, you can fade the squares, all that good stuff. Really awesome site there. Make sure you check out the Sharp app Discord, and I will put the links to all that stuff, of course, in the description below. Welcome back to the Die Hard MMA podcast. We're talking UFC 288, and we are rolling straight on into what is maybe one of the hottest topics on MMA Twitter today, Brandon. We got Kron, Gracie.
Oh,
the hog.
The hog.
The hog. Taking on Charles Air Jourdain. The man himself is carrying the flag for Team Canada. Hasn't done too well of it lately, unfortunately. Team Canada, they're deprived. You know, if it wasn't for my girl Jillian Robertson, it would just be, they'd be in shambles. So Kron Gracie, 5-1. Making his return here after a decent layoff. Man, he debuted back in 2019, snapped Caceres off in the first round, and then got the brakes beaten off of him by Cub Swanson. Now, my memory, it's been so long since I saw the Cub Swanson fight. My memory was that Cub wrecked this man, like made him look silly. And for the first round, that was true. Cub Swanson was destroying Kron Gracie's body, and Kron just kept on moving forward, couldn't cut the cage off, couldn't track him down, couldn't find him, and I almost turned it off because I was like, oh, yeah, I remember this. But I left it on. And in round 2, Kron starts landing. And even though his striking is very basic, he starts hitting him with jabs. He starts wearing on him. He gets closer, and then you see the damage start wearing on Cub Swanson's face, and it's like, oh, shit, this guy's got power. Like, it was not a pretty fight whatsoever. And it was definitely a dominating win by Cub Swanson. But Kron showed more in that fight than I remembered him showing. He did more in that fight than my brain told me that he did. And now he's taken a long layoff where you got to think he's been working on that skill set of his striking that he was sorely missing, you know, coming into his UFC debut. Obviously, world-class, got the Gracie name on him. He's carrying the banner for the family at this point. We know on the ground, you're not going to get much better than a guy like this. Crazy tight squeeze. He's the Gracie's legacy fighter, chosen at this point to fight in the UFC. He's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage over Charles Air Jourdain. And this guy's your favorite brawler. He comes in and he's searching for Valhalla. He wants glory. He wants 50K. He's like a Diaz brother, man. He almost reminds me a little bit of Roy Val. He'll cause chaos and then just hope to exploit your mistakes in that chaos. He just wants to overwhelm you with a wide variety of strikes. He throws his flying knees. And he's deadly late in the fight too. He turns up in round 3 when other people are slowing down and getting tired. It's absolutely glorious to watch Charles Jourdain in round 3, especially when he may or may not be down on the judges' scorecards, because he really will go out on his shield and go for broke trying to get that win there. This one's interesting because there's that classic U-shaped line movement, right? Charles Jourdain opened up minus 185, got smoked all the way up to minus 300, and then it's been nothing but dog money coming back in on Kron Gracie. And usually that's kind of that little alarm bell going off in my head that the sharps want Kron and they just want a better number on it. I jumped in on Kron, man. I bet him at plus 150. I actually think this is a spot where the UFC is giving him a decent matchup, a decent fight to go ahead and showcase what he can do in his return to the UFC here. I think Kron now has a guy who, like, instead of Cub Swanson running away from him for 15 minutes, is going to come forward. Whether that's better or worse for him, we'll find out. But if he needs someone to engage with him to have a shot striking, or somebody to engage with him to cause a scramble or a clinch or fall to the ground and get the grappling going, a guy like Charles Jourdain that's going to be in the air for half the fight is exactly the guy that you want him fighting. So he's got an opportunity to use his skill set. I do think that Kron Gracie is very live in this spot. And then obviously on the ground, I think he's levels above Charles Jourdain. So he's got that, trump card. If he needs to pull it out at the end of the fight, or if he's behind on the cards, he can manage the win. I got the dog, Brandon. Tell me you're dog hunting with me one more time today.
Yeah, I think I am.
Let's go.
Man, I really love me some Charles Jourdain. He's one of my favorite fighters right now, and he's a lot better than I had ever given him credit for. I was such a hater on Jourdain. Honestly, he's a lot better mixed martial artist than Kron Gracie. If Kron was, this amazing mixed martial artist, he wouldn't have been taking so much time off. Jourdain has really put a lot of stuff together. He's been active. There's a lot of things that are positive for Jourdain. I think if a lot more people felt this way, he'd be -3, -400, -500 against the guy who hasn't fought in so long. But all it's going to take is one takedown, and Jourdain falls over against every single person. I might be a little bit biased here because my own personal jiu-jitsu game, I've molded a lot after Kron Gracie. I just wanted to stick to the basics, do the things that worked. I never wanted to do Baron Bolos or De La Rivas. I wanted to do the things that were fundamental and worked the best. I really think that you're going to have one of the best guys in the world in jiu-jitsu on top of you. That's going to be bad news for Jourdain. So for me here, I'm going to go Kron Gracie. I know he's had a lot of time off, but they get into one exchange and he finds his way on top one time. I think that's all that he's going to need.
Agreed. That's kind of what it comes down to, me, man, is I really think it's a minutes versus moments type of situation. He's just going to need one big moment and then the fight is over and it's his, in my opinion. So I will roll the dice with the dog. I think the Gracies get back on track. Definitely glad to hear you agree with me here on that one. And you guys know, I will always tell you, if I've got any info to share, my goal here obviously is to just DJ the fuck out and enjoy betting on MMA. There are much smarter people out there. There are people with much better ROIs than me. The number one MMA bettor at Superbook Sports came in early on Kron Gracie. And this is the guy that had Fernando Perdilla last week. This is the guy that had Alex Pereira months ahead of everybody before Izzy in the first fight. So, this guy's got a solid track record. Superbook has actually, they told me that they opened up his limits because they're trying to entice more action from him so they can adjust their lines appropriately because he's so good at betting MMA. That's the guy that bet on Kron. I've been told that. I'm passing that information along to you. Do with that what you will. I'm also betting on Kron. So there you go. All right, everybody. We are moving right along. Next up, we have got Movsar Evloev, who, by the way, doesn't have very many good pictures of him on Google. I had to use this one because, surprisingly enough, there's just not that many of the guy. Taking on Bryce Mitchell. Thug Nasty, making his return as a big, fat underdog, which, man, the guy just lost his O. We don't see Thug Nasty at that kind of a price tag. It's a little bit crazy. The swings, recency bias can be a bitch, man. Somebody loses and all of a sudden they're the worst fighter on the planet just because people saw them have that one chink in their armor, or one bad night, or one bad performance. But I think it also has a lot to do with the fact that Movsar Evloev's a monster. 16-0, still undefeated. Put on so much muscle moving up to this weight class, Brandon. Have you seen this guy on Instagram recently?
Oh yeah, he's jacked up.
Oh my God. Okay, everybody just bear with me for 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and get Movsar up here because I've got to show you what he's looking like right now. Yeah, he's in stupid shape right now coming into this fight. So yeah, Movsar has really underrated, I feel like, basic striking, but it works. And he's also got that kind of natural power where just the clean, short jab starts to like bust people's faces up and cause them to swell. And he just doesn't do a whole lot, but what he does is extremely effective. And then when it gets to the grappling, obviously he's a very strong, very powerful offensive wrestler. And anytime he has been in the defensive position, he's shown some insane flexibility, like the ability to do the splits, the scrambles. He gets back up. You go back to that Nick Lentz fight, and Nick Lentz gave this man an absolute run for his money, had him in guillotines for half the fight, and he managed to stay calm in those positions, scramble out. Like, for a guy that's got as much muscle on his body, he's got to be on all of the EPO, Brandon, because there's no way you can keep moving the way this guy does with that amount of muscle on his frame, but he does it. I have been high on Movsar Evloev since he came to the UFC, and I think we are going to get a like number one contenders fight between him and Ilya Topuria at some point. I'm salivating for it. I can't wait. Bryce Mitchell, the one thing I want to say is that this guy is nasty in the submission game. He's got 9 wins by sub, and we have seen Movsar kind of leave his neck out there in compromising positions before. If you want to take a flyer on Thug Nasty to get the sub here, I wouldn't hate it. But outside of that, I think it's a wrestling match. And if it's the whole situation where we get 2 wrestlers that don't want to wrestle because they kind of cancel each other out and they're striking, I think we're going to see the bigger damaging shots come from Movsar. I think the damage is going to wear on Bryce Mitchell's face. And we know the judges are favoring damage over all else. So even if Bryce Mitchell outlands him, he's going to be the one I think that's going to be bloodied by the end of this thing. And that should be enough. So like all things said and done, the line might be a little bit wide here, but I think Movsar finds a way to get the win one way or the other. What about you, Brandon?
I don't think the line's wide enough. I think this should be
shit.
minus 5,000 or something like that. I don't know. Somewhere in that range. Yeah, I think Movsar's got him covered everywhere. Bryce got purple belt jiu-jitsu where he just throws up a million submissions. He's a crazy guy. Santino was saying this earlier because this was actually supposed to be JSP's fight. So they were doing a lot of tape for this, a lot of research for this. The thing that actually concerned Santino the most was the straight left hand from Bryce. But honestly, I think Movsar is such a good striker. I think he's way underrated. I think he wears guys out. And I don't think Bryce has the cardio that everybody thinks that he has. I think he's going to get run down by Movsar, wrestle fucked any way that he wants to. I already got a couple bets on Movsar and I'm not done loading yet. So I think this will be an easy one.
Okay. And man, it might be the squarest bet on the card, but I was looking at potentially parlaying Movsar with Khaos.
Why not?
Yeah. I don't know. That's the one I'm looking at, and why not? That's kind of how I feel about it. It makes sense to me. Got to go ahead and, pat myself on the back here. JSG cashing in on that Rangers no goal in the first period, plus 280. Your boy's giving out hockey gems over on Twitter lately. Let's go. Under, 1.5 obviously cashes because 0-0 at the end of the first. So, all right, let's move right along, folks. We just got a couple of last fights here. We're over 210 live viewers. Thank you all for spending your Monday night with us. This is my guy, Brandon Olivas. If you don't know him yet, you're going to know him. Not only is he the $1 million baby, but he's going to be kicking ass very soon in a theater near you. Can't wait to watch this man fight again. Next up, Jessica Andrade takes on Yan Xiaonan. And we talked earlier about, there's been a couple of Twitter Civil War spots, but damn, man, everybody and their mother lining up to take Yan in this spot. Like, I've seen nothing but Yan Xiaonan money coming into this spot here. And right now, Jessica Andrade has dropped down to minus 185. So that flood of money on the dog is eventually starting to chip away there at that favorites price tag. So Jessica Andrade, she kind of got exposed a little bit in her last fight on the ground, but let me just go ahead and clarify that with Blanchfield's a fucking monster, man. Like, I don't know if she got exposed so much as she was fighting up a weight class against potentially the next champion of the division. You can't really knock her for that. And then there was a big thing about a wardrobe malfunction, and I had to find out. I went back, I slowed the thing down, and right when that inside trip takedown happens that led to the fight ending exchange, you can see the underhook of Blanchfield pulls the shirt of Jessica Andrade up. And and I wouldn't want to be a woman with my titty popping out on, national television for everybody. So I can understand where that probably flustered her a little bit. At the same time, I don't know that she was ever defending that takedown regardless. So, a little grain of salt there on that, but it definitely is something that I could see having affected her in that moment. I don't know that Yan is anywhere near the caliber of wrestler that Erin Blanchfield is. Now, she's been working real hard on her grappling out there with Uriah Faber. We know he does well in the wrestling game, and we just cashed in on my guy Song Yadong. So working wonders on that kid. But Yan has not been out there nearly as long. She's 16-3. She's 33 years old. Definitely a solid prospect. Looked good against Mackenzie Dern. She got the split over Marina Rodriguez. I can't get the Carla Esparza TKO out of my head, though, man. That one will never leave my brain. You know who Carla Esparza finishes? Nobody. She finishes this girl. That's it. Like, the last time Carla Esparza, finished anybody was the first time she fought Rose back in 2014. Like, she doesn't get anybody out of there. And Yan Jourdain had nothing for Carla off of her back in that fight. Now, obviously, since then, she's made some improvements, but someone who's just a powerful little tank like Jessica Andrade, I think it's going to be a tall order for Yan to get under her hips and get her to the ground the way that some of those bigger girls were able to. Now, Yan is big for the weight class. Don't get me wrong. I'll give her that, but I don't know that the technique is quite there for her to pull that off. Andrade is strong. She's got good hips. She's got a good sprawl and brawl game, and she does throw those, fastballs. Everything she does is with fighting ending intent, and she has those fast hands, the flying knees. I like Jessica Andrade here. I almost like standing in front of the market and just being like, you know what? You guys are a little down on her for what happened recently. I almost feel like she reminds everybody who the fuck she is on Saturday, Brandon.
Yeah, I'm so far the other way, but I am honestly the biggest hater of these Brazilian men. I try to fade Larissa Pacheco every single chance that I get. I try to fade Jessica Andrade every chance I get. Maybe it's not paying off for me well yet, but it sure did last time when I was big on Blanchfield. I think Yao Xiaonan is a great striker. I mean, watch her fight. It's such a technical, beautiful fight with Marina Rodriguez. I think she does so many things well. I think she's got incredible cardio. If Jessica can't put her out within the first 2-3 minutes of the fight, I think this is a runaway for Yan. And I see this comment on the screen: is Yan a better striker than Rose, Chikagan, and Lemos? Than Rose, I would say yes. Chikagan, yes. Lemos, better striker technically, but not that insane power and hand speed. There's one thing that each of those people does better than Yan Xiaonan. I think Yan Xiaonan has probably the least physical gifts, the most technique, and probably the best cardio of any of them. I think I like her in the spot, man. It's really just I think the passing of the torch here. It just looked like Andrade didn't even care in the last fight, and maybe she didn't. Maybe she was just looking for the paycheck. But man, she's sloppy. She's loopy. She throws crazy meat hooks. I like me some Yan in this spot.
Okay. All right. I am not, I'm not confident enough to put my money where my mouth is on this one. So everybody take that with a grain of salt. Like, if I really was like Andrade, I'd be laying it, right? Like, I'd be parlaying her up. I'd be laying the chalk. I'm not doing that. Like, I definitely think this is a moment where everybody might be too low on her. We'll wait and see. If enough money comes in to get me down to like Andrade minus 140, then maybe I jump in. But I'm not buying at minus 185. We'll find out. This is definitely a one to watch for me. Next up, your co-main event, a 5-round co-main event, ladies and gentlemen. Bilal, remember the name Muhammad, taken out. Gilbert Durinho Burns. Did I just say taken out? Didn't mean to say that. I meant versus. Ooh. But yeah, maybe a little foreshadowing by accident. Freudian slip there. We've got Bilal, the consummate disrespected underdog, coming in here to fight Gilbert Burns. I'm so happy they made this fight, man. I thought it was going to fall apart for a second with the way these two were like going back and forth on Twitter. I thought there was going to be some kind of a hang up with like the catch weight or the price tag, and they weren't going to be able to pull it off, but they got the damn thing done. I am ready. This is a number one contenders fight. It absolutely has to be. I mean, Masvidal just finally hung him up. Gilbert Burns, they weren't ready to give him the title shot yet. He needs one more. They're never going to give Bilal the title shot until he cleans the division out literally and is the only one left standing. So that's kind of what this is. Bilal versus Burns, I would think the winner probably gets the shot, man. 23-3 for Bilal. He's been the dark horse forever, right behind Leon. And unreal cardio and toughness. This man just absolutely puts a pace on people. And the shocking thing is he's coming off a knockout win. I never predicted ever in a million years that he was going to knock out somebody like Sean Brady. Just not the MO of Bilal, but here we go. We're in a very new situation here in 2023. And you guys know I've been the captain, nay, the what's it called? Whoever drives the train. I'm the captain of the train, the Gilbert Burns train, baby. I've been making money on this guy for years. I think Gilbert Burns has been underrated for a long time. Got the wrestling, world-class jiu-jitsu, power striking. The guy's a big hitter. Like, you've got everything you want in Gilbert Burns, except that, he used to be a 155er, and maybe ever so slightly is just a little bit chinny. He's kind of done away with that, though, in his last couple of fights. Obviously, getting chin checked by guys like Hamzat and George have kind of definitely made me feel better about the condition of Gilbert Burns' chin, which frankly I thought was shot like 2-3 years ago. This is a great fight. And the fact that it's 5 rounds means so much more to me. I think 5 rounds favors Bilal. I really do. I know Gilbert has shown that he's solid. He's got good pace. He executes very well over a 15-minute fight, and he's capable of going 5. But I think if I had to say who's got the better cardio, I would be picking Bilal. I have no doubts whatsoever in my mind that this man can grind for 25 straight minutes. And then it's the chin. Let's not forget that he ate the head kick that knocked Kamaru Usman out and kept coming. He said, "Please, sir, can I have some more?" and kept wrestling in that fight against Leon Edwards. Brandon, I want them to run back Bilal versus Leon because I think we'll get a stupid number on Bilal in that fight. And the way that fight ended the first time, Bilal obviously lost the first round and a half or so, but the eye poke is what ended the fight. Not anything that Leon had actually done. He ate Leon's best shot and was still getting in his face. I think he would have worked his way back into that fight. I legitimately feel like Bilal was super live to go ahead and upset Leon Edwards in that spot, but the fight got pulled because of the eye poke. I want to see them run it back. And I think he wins this fight on Saturday against Gilbert Burns. I have not bet it yet, but I don't know that I'm going to get a better number. So I think I probably need to jump in on Bilal Muhammad. I think he gets his hand raised on Saturday. What about you, Brendan?
I'm going to go Gilbert on this one. I faded Gilbert the last fight. I really, in my heart of hearts, I really believe that Masvidal was going to do it. And I see a lot of people say that Masvidal is super overrated. And I disagree,
that was
looking
me.
at, oh, did you say that? Okay.
Yeah.
I've
totally
always
thought
disagreed.
that about Masvidal though.
Really? Oh man. I thought complete opposite. I mean, the guy can go in, he can go in any, he can compete jiu-jitsu with the best jiu-jitsu guys. He can strike with the best strikers. I really think Masvidal is good, but he's a little bit old, a little bit unfocused. And, man, it looks like, Gilbert's got a really good doctor. So I'm actually going to be on Gilbert here. I just think he's a very clean striker. Man, Masvidal offered something that I just think Bilal doesn't have. The counter striking, the takedown defense. I think that maybe we even see Gilbert offensively wrestle here. What if he takes Bilal down? He gets on top and he strangles him. People forget he's a no-gi world champion a couple times over. The guy's got very good jiu-jitsu and it's very bulldog. Man, honestly, I think that Gil's going to pick him apart with a jab and a low kick. That's his money makers: jab, low kick, offensively wrestle, defend takedowns. The cardio thing does worry me a bit, but I don't think Bilal's cardio is as good as everybody thinks that it is. I think it looks good because he's able to wear down guys that are going to fade with him. But if he's not getting takedowns early, then what happens to Bilal? He's forced to stay at range and take 10 more shots. So for me, I'm going to go Gilbert, and I think Gilbert actually gets it done inside the distance here.
Ooh, all right. Definitely some dissension here on the co-main event, man. And I think there is some opportunity that Bilal is not able to take Gilbert down early, but showing off what happened in the Brady fight, he's obviously working on his striking game. His hands are getting better. I think he can kind of lull Burns into a fight and then start picking up the takedowns deeper. Not necessarily getting them in rounds 1 or 2, but getting them in 3 and 4. And we might be in for a long night. We might be in for fight of the night where it's 2 and 2 going into 5. That's the kind of situation where I think Bilal will eventually pull away.
He'll push harder. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll just push harder and last a little bit longer. You know what I mean?
All right.
We'll see. All right, great. That's such a good fight, man. I cannot wait for that fight. So, all right, we're on opposite sides there. Let's see how we end up. Let's see, because we agreed a lot on the undercard, and then the main card has definitely split us one way or the other. We've got Aljamain Sterling set to defend his title against Henry freaking Cejudo, making his return. Oh, Brandon, I've been waiting. I've been waiting for this moment because anybody who's listened to my show knows Henry Cejudo is the guy who he was my number one moneymaker for years. And this was obviously like right before I actually started the podcast, but like when I started giving out my picks over, and it was way back at SBR, sportsbookreview.com, when Jimmy the Bag did his shows there. I was in the chat and he noticed me giving good MMA picks. That's how I got my start in content. And it was all off the back of Henry because I bet him in everything. I had him in a parlay at UFC 249 versus Dom, and I had him at inside the distance plus 132 versus Marlon Moraes, had him on the money line plus 170 versus TJ, had him at 3-1 versus DJ. Like, Cejudo has been my guy, and I was so sad when he hung it up, but he's coming back to a real tough challenge. Aljamain Sterling, the most maybe disrespected champion the UFC has ever seen, 3 inches taller, 7-inch reach advantage, and just the frame, man, he's going to move up in weight in the next fight or two. We know that. Like, he's already come out and given us his plan. He wants to beat Cejudo. He wants to beat O'Malley and then hop weight classes for the champ opportunity and then call it quits. And all I heard there, Brandon, was that he's ready to call it quits. Once a fighter starts thinking about the R word, they've got one foot in the grave. They're not the same. They don't train the same. They don't have the same hunger. They don't have the same intensity because they know the end is near. And I'm thinking Aljamain has gotten to that point of exhaustion. Now, not to say that he's not going to take this fight seriously, not to say that he's not going to push himself. I'm sure we'll get the best Aljamain Sterling coming in here on Saturday. But I do worry that he's already getting close to where he understands the end is near. And Henry's fighting for legacy. You know, Henry's coming back to do something that almost nobody has ever done before. Not a lot of people have been able to pull this kind of thing off. I love the way the dude strikes. Obviously, the best grappler probably in this division, maybe even in the entire UFC with the credentials that he's got. I think he can out-style Aljamain in the grappling and the wrestling. The jiu-jitsu worries me just a tick because of kind of what Aljamain did to Petr Yan with the back takes and things like that. I know you guys don't believe in body triangles, so I hope that Henry's got the answer for that kind of a situation coming into this fight, but I think this will be very close. I think it'll be very competitive, and at the end of the day, I think that you would be a fool to doubt Henry Cejudo after everything he's done to this point in his life. We've got to pick him. Minus 110 on both sides. I lie. Henry Cejudo is now minus 120. Over on Superbook Sports. Aljamain has flipped to the plus 110 underdog here in this spot. I haven't bet anything yet, Brandon, because like I said, I've got a history of going to the bank with Henry Cejudo, and I had to make sure that my brain agreed with my heart here in this spot before I pulled any triggers on it. And what I came to is that I think I just have to ride or die with Henry Cejudo. I think this fight's going to be competitive. It's going to be close. I can see where Aljamain Sterling has some serious advantages, but my guy has never let me down. I'm going to bet Henry Cejudo. I'm going to bet him to get his belt back and do something that only the legends do because I think he's deserving of that title. And I think he's the man. I'm betting Henry Cejudo on Saturday, and I think we've got New. Brandon, talk to me, buddy. What are you doing here?
I don't think I'm allowed to talk about this one, and I'm not.
That's a good point
about this one. I have trained with Henry for a long time, since I was 18, 19 years old. I was at his house on Easter. So this one's a little bit too near and dear to me. If you guys want a good story about Henry, tune into our podcast. Santino ends the show talking about Henry, and it's a really, really, really good one. Yeah, I think you just have to break it down. I think Aljamain has overperformed his true skill set and his cardio, but you also have Henry, who's 36, hasn't fought in 3 years. He's done pretty much nothing but lifting weights. He's massive now. Versus Aljo, who doesn't have the greatest cardio. He's not the greatest striker. He's nowhere near the caliber of wrestler that Henry is. So honestly, I think the line is about right. It's, Henry is the mystery box. He hasn't been active. We don't know what we're getting. Versus Aljo, who has, but probably skill for skill, not anywhere near as good. So, I say personally, guys, enjoy the fight. sit back. We should win tons and tons of money with all these underdogs we picked up and down the whole show. Sit back and just love this one. Enjoy this one.
That's fair, man. That is absolutely fair. And I do apologize for teeing you up that way because I forgot you're not allowed to talk about this one. But we do need to shout out. We got a dono, our guy Wealthy dropping 20 in the chat. Thank you so much, Wealthy. We appreciate you being here and definitely appreciate the dono here, keeping the lights on and keeping the free content coming at Pub Sports Radio. Brandon, my friend, we did a lot of damage on this card. I think we're set up for a very profitable evening on Saturday. Now is your chance that if you want to shout anything out, let the people know where they can find you. Let them know definitely where they can find your show and anything else you got coming up. The floor is yours, my friend. You go right ahead.
Hey, thanks so much. And thanks for having me on. And, I appreciate you, and sorry, sometimes I don't get back to you. I'm so stretched out a million different ways that sometimes I get to it, but, hopefully we did good on bare knuckle on Saturday.
You're a busy
guys,
man.
Yeah. So I run a Discord with Santino DeFranco, who is the head coach of one Henry Cejudo and head coach of Fight Ready and been my coach for almost 10 years now. So check us out, Santino DeFranco on YouTube. Podcast usually comes out on Tuesday mornings. We run a Patreon, we run a Discord. It's pretty all inclusive. It's got every sport, everything, all kinds of good stuff. And then I am actually getting into the golf ball business. So I'm selling refurbished golf balls, Titleist Pro V1, some good balls. So if you guys are looking for some, shoot me a message, support small business, and we'll get you some nice golf balls.
Very cool. I thought that was a joke until you went hard on it. And then I was like, oh, he's not kidding.
No, not kidding.
That's awesome, man. I love it. I love the entrepreneurial spirit. Get out here and support our guy, Brandon. And that man, never apologize. I know you're busy. I know you got shit going on. So if you miss a DM or two, I'm not going to cry about it. It's all good. I still owe you your housewarming gift. So I got to get caught up on that too. All right, everybody. I just want to say thank you for tuning in. This show has been awesome. It's been fun. It's been great. I do want to just, shameless self-promotion here, remind you guys that you can go ahead and get the Always Trust Your Balls shirt now at the Die Hard MMA podcast merch shop. Check it out. It's brand new. Dropped hot today. I'll have some new merch and designs coming soon. So check that out. Of course, I do have the Total Takedown on Thursday, the undefeated post weigh-in show where we break out the tinfoil cap on Friday. And then we will also have the Prediction Strike Fight Exchange show on my personal YouTube. So please check that out as well. Good luck on all your degenerate action, everybody. Have a wonderful week. Kick some ass. Let's roll.
Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man.